Good morning. So, I am going to read you a story this morning, but also I'm going to attempt to put on this thing that came in a package, and I thought I was going to recycle it, and then I thought, oh, it's just the coolest thing, so I'm going to see if maybe it'll go over my head. Yes. It makes me beautiful. Sort of what? Like a necklace, or I feel like the Tin Man. Oh, it's kind of oof. Okay. Sort of. Uh, there. Oh, that's better. That's better. Let me push these things down. Do you like it? Am I fancy? I think I'm gonna go. Okay, that was worth it. Okay, now, what I'm really here for is to read you a story, Mrs. Wobble, the Waitress. I'm sure you remember this because it's a great book by Alan Alberg and Janet Alberg, who are favorites of mine and maybe of yours too. Okay, so let's see. It's actually by Alan Alberg with pictures by Janet Alberg. Okay. Mrs. Wobble was a waitress. She liked her work. The customers liked, oh, do you hear that? That's the sound of the emails that are coming in. We'll just have to not pay attention to those. Mrs. Wobble was a waitress. I was a waitress once. I was a waitress the summer after my first year in college in North Carolina, Outer Banks of North Carolina. Mrs. Wobble was a waitress. She liked her work. The customers liked her. The only trouble was she wobbled. Here we are. Picture of her being a waitress, carrying what? Cherries. She's got a bowl of cherries there. But look, the cherries are falling out onto the man. Oh dear. Let's see what else is going to happen when she wobbles as a waitress. I don't think I ever wobbled when I was a waitress. One day, Mrs. Wobble wobbled with a bowl of soup. The soup landed on a customer's dog. Mrs. Wobble got told off. The next day, Mrs. Wobble wobbled with a roast chicken. The roast chicken landed on a customer's head. Mrs. Wobble got told off again. All right, so let's see. Here she is with the soup. Where's the soup? This side there. She's got a big tureen of soup, and it's landing on the dog. And then she's got the roast chicken. And look, it's landing on the lady's hat. Oh. The next day, Mrs. Wobble wobbled with a plate of jelly. The jelly landed on the manager's head. Mrs. Wobble got the sack. You know what that means? It means she got fired. Oh, wow. Oh, dear, Mrs. Wobble says. Look at the jelly. Sort of like what is a jelly? It's sort of like a jello kind of a thing on top of his head. And she says, oh, dear, oh, dear. Mrs. Wobble went home to her family. Mr. Wobble cooked her tea to make her feel better. The children tried to cheer her up. Cheer up, Ma, they said. You'll find another job in another cafe. There she is. She said, I have got the sack. I've been fired. I bet she's sad. She's pretty sad. But there were no other cafes. That was the only one in the town. Mrs. Wobble knew this. There are no other cafes, she said, and she began to cry. The children did not like to see their mother cry, just like you don't like to see your mother cry. It made them cry. It made their father cry, too. Here, everybody is crying together. Then Mr. Wobble had an idea. I know what we can do, he said. We can open a cafe of our own. Where? Said Mrs. Wobble. Where? Said Miss Wobble. Where? Said Master Wobble. Here, said Mr. Wobble. We can turn the house into a cafe. Look, and there he is saying, we can open a cafe of our own. And suddenly they're all happy, right? They've been sad, they've been crying, and now they're all happy because Mr. Wobble had such a great idea. Can you imagine turning your house into a cafe? The next day, the Wobble family turned their house into a cafe. Just takes one day. They cleaned and they painted. They moved the chairs and tables around. They changed the curtains. So here they are. Oh, it's a bit of a hubbub in that house. Look at all the stuff that they're doing. That's a lot. And then here they are setting it up as a cafe. Wow, that was a lot of work to do in one day. But when you have a great idea, you want to make it happen fast, right? Mr. Wobble went shopping. He bought meat and vegetables, fruit and fish, cheese and chicken, flour, and a few other things. So they figured out the menu before he went shopping, I guess. The children went shopping too. They bought 2 pairs of roller skates and a fishing net. "What are those for?" said Mr. Wobble. "It's a surprise, Pa," the children said. "You wait and see." And here is a wonderful picture of their town. What are some of the stores that are there? I see the general store, amusements with toys and games right here, and then the confectioner's shop. That's like a candy store, bakery. And then what's over here? I can't read that. Growers and fruit gardeners, a produce shop where you would go to buy vegetables and fruits and stuff. Very cool. In the evening, Mrs. Wobble made waiter's clothes for her children and a cook's hat for her husband, so she's good with the sewing machine. Mr. Wobble and the children made the menus. Okay, so here's the picture of her making clothes for the children. She says, "Keep still." And then the little girl right here says, "How do you spell sausage?" She's making out the menu. Sausage is kind of hard to spell. And then on this side, we can see their menu. Oh, Wobble's Cozy Cafe. They have soups, meat and veg, pies, fish, puddings, jellies, cakes, fruit, pots of tea, and cheese. That looks good. I think we could find lots of things to eat there if we went to that cafe. The children went to bed because they were tired out. Mr. and Mrs. Wobble stepped outside and they looked at their new cafe. "It's the big day tomorrow," Mr. Wobble said. "We're going to make our fortunes." "Yes," said Mrs. Wobble. "The only trouble is, what if I wobble?" The next day, the children woke up early. "It's the big day today, Ma," Master Wobble said. He gave his mother a cup of tea in bed. Miss Wobble gave her father a cup of tea in bed. "We're going to make our fortunes today, Pa," she said. So here, Mr. and Mrs. Wobble are outside, and they're looking at the Wobble's Cozy Cafe. And here, Miss and Master Wobble are bringing cups of tea to their mom and daddy in bed. "It's the big day today," he says. And she says, "We're going to make our fortunes." After breakfast, Mr. Wobble began cooking. Mrs. Wobble and Miss Wobble laid the tables, set the tables. Master Wobble went around the town with a sandwich board. You may not know what a sandwich board is, but I'll show you what it is in the picture. So here he's cooking, Mr. Wobble, and here Mrs. Wobble and Miss Wobble are setting the table. They're laying the table. And here is Master Wobble going around town with the sandwich board. See what it is? "Eat at Wobble's Cozy Cafe," it says. So a sandwich board's kind of like a moving billboard, like an advertisement that he walks all around with, so everybody sees him and says, "Oh, I want to eat at the Cozy Cafe." The first customers arrived. "Oh dear," said Mrs. Wobble, "what if I..." And she starts to wobble. Oh no. Mrs. Wobble wobbled with a bowl of soup. "Help," said the customer. Miss Wobble, the daughter, skated to the rescue. She caught the soup in another bowl. That's clever, the customer said. Look, we can see it happening. She's catching the soup. That's clever, sort of like a game that they're playing. The customers are thinking, they don't think it's real. Mrs. Wobble wobbled with the roast chicken. Wow, said the customer. Master Wobble skated to the rescue. He caught the roast chicken in a net. Hooray, the customer said. Then all the other customers cheered. Hooray, hooray. This is more fun than a circus, they said. So here she's almost about to drop the chicken, but Master Wobble comes along with the net. Oh, and here everybody's cheering. Bravo! Hooray! Hooray! What fun, they say. Mrs. Wobble looks a little anxious, a little nervous. That night, Mrs. Wobble counted the money. It looks like a fortune to us, Ma, the children said. Mr. Wobble gave them a hug. And we owe it all to the famous juggling waiters, he said. Look, there they are, counting all of the money. Lots of money. They look so happy. The next day, there was a big crowd in the street. The people had come from miles around to see the famous juggling waiters. Look at all the people coming to the cafe. I hope they have enough food for them. It's one thing to have juggling waiters, but if you don't have enough food, that's not so good. All right, let's see the last page. The children peeped out. There's a big crowd in the street, Ma, they said. Yes, said Mrs. Wobble, and she began to laugh. Now the only trouble is, let me see if I can say that again. Now the only trouble is, what if I don't wobble? The end. And there's the last picture. They're open for business. The end. That's fun. I wish we could go to that cafe. I wish we could go and see all the entertainment, eat the good food, see the juggling waiters.